All right, good evening. Second video, grade 10 curriculum, cap syllabus, South Africa, home language. Second video of the three that I'm doing for term 1 poetry that I selected for my students. This is called Sirocco, soccer Karoo style. We had to shoo a fat sow, 3 piglets, and a family of chickens off the pitch, then carry a somnambulant Great Dane from the penalty spot before the game could begin. Shortly after half-time, our goalkeeper hoofed the ball skyward, and it burst into a flower and wobbled to earth. Both captains tried to shove the bulging rubber back into its pod, but with a sad psst, it died. I thought that was the end of the game, but someone quickly collected old socks and underpants and stuffed them inside the leather casing, and the game went on, to end in a goalless draw. The teams trooped off the pitch, and the Great Dane, with a deep sigh, slouched toward the penalty spot. So first things first, just like the previous poem and the poem that is to come after, it is all free verse. Now, usually when a poet writes a poem in free verse, either they did it because they just had something on their mind and they didn't think that any particular structure was going to help them. So if you think of a sonnet, you are usually praising something or looking at the beauty of a woman along that line. If you look at a haiku, it can be pretty much everything. There are villanelles, there are ballads, there are epics. So generally, when there's a rhyme scheme or a structure, the poet has selected that for a specific purpose. But for free verse, you might be tempted to think, okay, but then maybe the person was just bored, or maybe they weren't really interested. But not always the case. Sometimes free verse is there just to help the poet get their thoughts out on paper. That structure would actually stop or hinder the meaning of the poem. So if we look at soccer Karoo style, the whole point of it is that these children are playing soccer, but in the style of people living in the Karoo. Now, if you think of the Karoo, it's very dry, semi-desert, quite desolate, very flat. There's a couple of hills, but they don't rise up very high. Mostly sheep farming. If you think of the big observatory that South Africa has, it's in that area. We've also got the Koeberg power plant. Why? Because it's open. It's empty. Like I said, it's desolate, okay? Very isolated. The people there have to be very hardy. People coming from the cities often find it very, very difficult because at night it gets very, 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 very dark. There's no big city lights, reflecting anything. There aren't a lot of buildings reflecting sunlight or moonlight. Obviously, a wonderful place if you want to see stars and constellations, or if there are meteor showers or shooting stars. Absolutely beautiful, really, really beautiful. Very quiet place. So the whole point is, because it's a mostly farming community, although there is routine and like a loose sense of structure, for the most part, people are very calm, very relaxed. Um, if you think of Treebeard from Lord of the Rings, there's no hastiness. And to a casual observer, things could seem a little bit slow, actually. But that's the point. So relaxed, lazy contentment, peaceful, but there's also a sense of togetherness, a sense of family. Even the animals seem to share the world. Okay, this piece of ground, okay, this pitch that the boys are using in order to play their soccer, it's shared with the animals. So the sow, which is the mommy pig, the 3 piglets, a family of chickens, and this Great Dane, those very, very big, tall dogs. They're sleeping there. It's also their place to relax. So the boys have to get them off the pitch, and then they're going to start the game. And right at the end of the poem, when the game is finished, the animals just seem to go back to the way it was. Okay, almost if you think of waves, the wave washes against the shore and then recedes, and washes against the shore and recedes. So everything seems to have its movement, its momentum. So somnambulant means like a sleepwalker, okay, lazy, very relaxed, and it seems to be quite an intense word for such a simple poem, if I can put it that way. Um, but somehow, after halftime during this soccer game, the ball bursts into a flower. So there we have a metaphor. So all the animals are off the pitch. They start the game, and obviously this ball has been used for many, many games, because now it's just one kick too many, hoofed kick, and it bursts. So the whole outer casing seems to fold open like a flower, and it wobbles down to earth. Both the captains are trying to shove the rubber back into its pod, its casing, but it's not really working. So they think it's the end of the game, but somebody comes up with the clever idea to get a whole bunch of old socks and underpants, shove it inside, and carry on with the game. And obviously, South African setting. I'm pretty sure if you watch movies or series, or you've watched people playing soccer, in the townships and squatter camps, or in the remote rural areas, pretty much anything can be used as a ball. So you've also got this idea of ingenuity, okay, making a plan. And this game comes to an end at a goalless draw, so neither side won. And the teams troop off the pitch. So when you think of a troop, you think either like a collection of monkeys or gorillas, or you think of a team of soldiers, but it definitely has this idea of um, belonging. Okay, everybody's in this together. So a real sense of camaraderie. Okay, that's quite a good word for you to use, very effective word, camaraderie. Um, and they troop off the pitch together. And then this Great Dane, with a deep sigh, slouches back towards the penalty spot. Okay, he's not even going to give up his spot, he's going straight back to it. So if you look at the parts in blue, both, someone, teams, it reinforces the ideal of family, that the boys are in this together. You don't really get the idea that everybody now suddenly splits and goes off and does their own thing. They're probably going to go to somebody's house and have something to drink. Or they'll pop in by somebody's auntie or grandmother, who will have made milk tart and cook sisters for them or something. And then you've got in purple the figures of speech, so the metaphor and the onomatopoeia, and those are really the only two that are in this poem. And so we're trying to get the picture of the ball, and then we're going to get the mimicry of the sound that it makes when it dies. So this ball is definitely finished. And then I've also just included the animals that are involved. Now, some of the children that are marked for other tests and exams, it seemed to get the idea that the animals were being compared to children, or the children were being compared to animals, or it was actually animals playing the game. No, okay? We, I, etc. Okay, this is the poet speaking. He's including himself with the players of this game. So just keep that in mind. It's actually children. They've just moved the animals out of the way, and they are now playing the game. So questions 1 to 6 are your basic contextual questions. Poem, name the animal, find the word, looking at everything, what does this suggest about the Karoo? Explain the metaphor, identify and explain an instance of onomatopoeia, and then your own opinion questions. So obviously, if you can answer all the basic comprehension questions, it should give you something to work with in order to form your own opinion. And that's what an own opinion question is. Why do you think, or do you agree, or in your opinion? Basically, if you can answer everything else, you've got enough information to make your mind up about something, to give a judgment, to evaluate something. Okay. And then obviously you've got the tone and the theme. You will notice with the tone, you are looking at adjectives. With the theme, you are looking at a concept or an idea. And then again, a short paragraph question, like I explained in the previous poem. The paragraph question was there to prepare my students to write a poetry essay. So you're looking at the first person and the simple structure. How does this complement the content of the poem? So what is the content? Why does it have a simple structure? And do the two of them go together, and why? So that's basically what they had to answer. Okay, give examples and explain. All right, so the third poem, the third video will be The Right Word. It is one of the longer poems. There are a lot of questions on it because it's dealing with quite a weighty subject, but that will be in the third video. Thank you.